this one again. I want to turn the music down a bit so we can hear you. Yes, I forgot to do that initially. Sorry about that. But it should be lower now. I always just leave it up on the intro screen so that people know what the audio level is going to be about when I start talking. Let me know if you're still hearing double. Definitely need to fix that. And I need to fix my captions application. It's saving. No double for Beck Beck Muffin. Okay, let's try pulling this down and just see what that does. Look at one of these days there won't be any audio issues. Today is not that day. Nicaragua. Continent Central America. Location Nicaragua. Okay, that makes sense. Maxed depth is 85 feet or 25 meters. And our surface area we're looking at is 3,191 miles squared or 8,264 square kilometers. Uh-huh. Lake Nicaragua is the largest freshwater lake in Central America, and it's one of the only lakes in the world with sharks. The bull shark species is not native and is capable of swimming in both freshwater and saltwater because of its unique ability to regulate the salinity of its body fluids. So, I am actually from Florida originally, and as a Floridian, I can say Beck Beck Muffin is exactly right. Bull sharks are spooky. Um, Bull sharks can actually swim up into the canals and the Everglades um, in Florida, so they can show up in very strange, shallow rivers and canals where you really wouldn't expect them to be. And because a lot of those waterways are very murky, they're full of tannins and particulates and stuff, it can be almost impossible to see anything swimming in that water. And bull sharks in particular are one of the more aggressive species. Like, I'm not going to sit here and be, anti-shark on Maine. Most sharks are lovely, but the bull shark does have a reputation for being one of the more aggressive sharks. So just imagine you're fishing off of a bridge or something in Florida, and all of a sudden you've got a bull shark on the line. That's the kind of spooky we're talking. But yeah, they can do that because they are able to control the level of salinity in their bodies, and they can thus exist in freshwater and in saltwater. Perfect for the Florida Everglades. And perfect for Lake Nicaragua. The sharks have adapted to the lake's environment and can grow up to 10 feet or 3 meters in length by feeding on the abundance of fish and other prey that are found in the water. Little side blurb here, Shark Highway. The red line on this map indicates the San Juan River, also known as El Desaguadero, the drain. It flows 124 meters or 199 kilometers from Lake Nicaragua into the Caribbean Sea. Okay, so I guess this is the route that our sharks are taking. Shark Highway, if you will. Lake Nicaragua, bull sharks have had both positive and negative effects for the local people. On the one hand, they provide a valuable source of income for local fishermen who catch them for their meat and fins. On the other hand, bull sharks are known for their aggressive and unpredictable behavior, and they pose a danger to swimmers and boaters. They have razor-sharp teeth and a powerful bite, and have been known to attack humans who dare enter their territory. Lake Nicaragua with the Concepcion volcano in the background. A beautiful little illustration there. Closer. Shark swimming. And since the waters of the lake are murky and often filled with sediment, it can be difficult to spot the sharks before it's too late. Over the centuries, sharks have become steeped in local legend and are the subject of many stories. But only 2 deaths in recorded history were directly caused by the lake's cold-blooded hunters. For a long time, how the bull sharks came to live in this freshwater lake was a mystery. At first, it was hypothesized that the lake had once been connected to the Pacific Ocean, and a small population of trapped saltwater sharks slowly evolved into freshwater sharks of today. One would therefore think that evolution would cause them to be genetically different from their salty relatives. But this is not the case. They are just tolerant of a freshwater environment. The mystery of the lake access was solved after scientists tagged the sharks, tracking their movements, and discovered that the bull sharks come into Lake Nicaragua via the San Juan River, which is connected to the Caribbean Sea. The San Juan River has a series of rapids and waterfalls that prevent the migration of other saltwater fish, but bull sharks were able to swim upstream through rough waters to colonize the lake. Oh my god, speaking of fish swimming upriver from the ocean, the salmon that also swim upriver have been abundant this summer. And I say this because it's a very auspicious week this week. It is Fat Bear Week. And so if you are somebody who is interested in bears and salmon and the Katmai River, you should definitely check out. I'm going to put a link in the chat. There we go, explore.org. Fat Bear Week, for those who don't know, is the chance to vote on the fattest bear at the Katmai River. Like I said, these bears have been working hard all summer catching salmon that have been swimming upstream to their spawning grounds, and they have gotten fat. So you can go vote for your favorite, vote for the fattest, at the link I just posted, and keep an eye on the roster, as it were, as it is filling out. Right. And then, of course, here's some very spooky shark illustrations. Ooh, this is on to some extra spooky fun. We're moving on from water to lava. This is our first lava lake, I believe. Again, assume best intent with these pronunciations. Mount Nyiragongo Lava Lake. Continent Africa. Location the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Max depth fluctuates, but has been measured maximum of 2,000 feet or 609 meters. Surface area is less than a mile squared. We sometimes call a body of liquid a lake, even though it doesn't contain water. A lava lake is a large pool of molten lava that boils and bubbles in the belly of an active volcano. Rising above the city of Goma, Mount Nyiragongo is a stratovolcano, which is a conical volcano with steep sides. Its lava lake is one of the only permanent lava lakes in the world. It has been a source of fascination and fear for centuries. A lava lake can produce colorful and glowing displays of molten rock, as well as spew lava and ash into the air. Get the picture of the cone with the steep sides of the volcano. Illustration. Out. Nyiragongo Lava Lake has an impressive 1,300 foot or 400 meter diameter, with a black crust of cooled lava that violently shifts and roils. The cracks in the black crust expose the bright orange and red lava boiling beneath. It's almost as if the lava lake were breathing. The surface an ever-changing kaleidoscope that emits thick white plumes of toxic gas. Iona says volcanic lakes are so fucking cursed. Highly true. They're very spooky, as is indicated by their entry in this book. Fire and ice. Lava lakes come and go in the crater of active volcanoes. There are few that are consistent, like Mount Nyiragongo, but one actually exists on the coldest continent. Mount Erebus is an active stratovolcano located on Ross Island in Antarctica. It's surrounded by ice and snow, but it has a persistent lava lake in its summit crater that has been there for several decades. Yikes. I can't imagine going to Antarctica and then having, like, to deal with extreme heat. Although you know there are probably geologists out there frothing at the mouth for the chance to go study that volcano. Geologists are like a whole breed unto themselves. Here we see a picture. Volcanologists in full gear standing on the rim of an enormous lava lake. For scale, there's one little itty bitty guy standing on the edge of this enormous lake. See this other little blurb. Hot pot. Lava and magma are both molten rock, but they have some key differences. Magma is the term used to describe molten rock that is still beneath Earth's surface, while lava is the term used to describe molten rock that has erupted onto Earth's surface. Because lava is exposed to the air, it cools and solidifies much more quickly than magma. Earth's crust prevents gases from escaping, so magma also contains more gases than lava. Huh. I didn't know that about the gases, but that makes sense now that I think about it. Oh. The Nyiragongo volcano has a long history of eruptive activity, with at least 34 recorded eruptions since 1882. Many of these eruptions have been continuous, lasting for years at a time, and often involve the enormous lava lake in the crater. The lake is fed by a magma chamber located beneath the volcano and is constantly replenished by fresh magma as it erupts onto the surface. The volcano towers 2 miles or 3 kilometers above the bustling metropolitan city of Goma in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Over centuries, the volcano has frequently threatened the lives of the millions of people who live nearby. This is not only because of the threat of liquid lava, but also due to the sheer amount of toxic gas it releases. The lava is rich in carbon dioxide, a gas that is heavier than the surrounding air. It creeps along the ground in low-lying areas into every nook and cranny of people's lives. Locals refer to it as Mazuku, or evil wind, because it can be deadly in high doses. Um, so carbon dioxide poisoning can be a very scary thing. It's a colorless, odorless gas, so you're not even necessarily aware that it's there. But luckily, most houses have a CO2 monitor in them as part of your fire detection system. But this would be a situation where so much gas is being generated by this volcano. Think about it like a fog machine, right? Like it's just rolling down the sides of this hill and blanketing this entire community in gas, and they're not able to really do anything about it. I imagine it's also happens extremely quickly, so they must have a certain protocol in place to detect it and warn people as early as possible. Um, on the one hand, me, the person that I am, I don't think I could live close to an active volcano. My anxiety is too bad for that. But I understand why there are a lot of civilizations that live near volcanoes. A lot of the times, the soil is very rich as a result of volcanic activity, um, in the past, and so it makes great farmland to be settled. Um, as long as nothing is cooking, right, in the volcano, you should be fine. Um, but no, I don't think I could do it. Torn apart. The Nyiragongo volcano was formed by the rifting of the African plate, where two parts of the continent are slowly moving apart. It is thought that a hot spot, plumes of magma spewing from deep within Earth's mantle, may also contribute to the intense volcanic activity of the Nyiragongo and its nearby neighbor. Oh, here we go. Niamaragira. Niamaragira. Yeah, I did that one. Together, these two volcanoes are responsible for 40% of Africa's historical volcanic eruptions. Now, if that's not a spooky Lord of the Rings reference, I don't know what is. Dang. Iona says you would never catch him living near a volcano either. Yeah, not the fingers. In 1977, the lake drained and the lava flowed down the mountain and through the forests and neighborhoods, appearing as if a 10-lane highway had been constructed, stretching across Goma. The destruction left in its wake was devastating. Aside from being the most constant lava lake in the world, Nyiragongo's lava is different than that of any other location on the planet. It's made of a type of volcanic rock that is low in the mineral silica. This allows it to flow quickly and easily, almost like water. Most lava is slow-moving because it has a large quantity of silica in it, a compound that acts as a sort of skeleton in the molten rock. As lava creeps down the side of the volcano, people can just walk away from it, even though it will eventually destroy homes and the landscape. However, due to its low silica level, the lava at Mount Nyiragongo can travel at 60 miles per hour, or 96 kilometers per hour, racing down the side of the volcano as it's erupting. That is fast. That is driving on the highway fast. This same strange fluid lava is also what pools at the heart of the crater. Yikes. The lava lake in the crater of Nyiragongo is constantly churning and moving, with molten lava rising and falling. While all lava lakes are treacherous, the majority have thick lava that you could sit on without sinking, although the intense heat would instantly burn you alive. However, the more fluid lava at Mount Nyiragongo would make it possible for an object or person to sink to the bottom the way Gollum sinks into the fiery depths of Mount Doom in The Lord of the Rings. Aha! I knew it. I knew Geo was one of us. The temperature of a lava lake can reach up to 2,200 degrees Fahrenheit or 1,204 degrees Celsius. My Celsius baddies out there. That is incredibly hot. At this temperature, most materials will spontaneously combust. Scientists who study volcanoes, called volcanologists, again, just a completely different breed, wear full protective suits to retrieve samples from the surfaces of lava lakes, but they can still feel the extreme heat emanating from the lava. The study of volcanoes is a dangerous field, with over 20 scientists losing their lives on volcanoes in the past 3 decades. Those who choose to pursue it must be prepared for the dangers that come with it. For sure. Yona says volcanologists are built different. So true. Aha! We're headed back for another toxic lake here. I sense human intervention is on its way. Continent, Europe. Location, Romania. Max depth, 295 feet or 90 meters. Surface area, less than 2 miles squared. In the Carpathian mountain range of Eastern Europe, you'll come across a lake that clearly does not belong. It is a brilliant orange soup of sludge that fills a deep valley in Romania. The smooth surface interrupted only by the top of a church steeple reaching to the sky. Until 1978, there was no lake. Instead, the picturesque rural village of Jamana thrived in the lush valley. The origin of the fluorescent lake began in the 1950s with the discovery of rich copper reserves in the surrounding mountains. This revelation foreshadowed the end of for the community of 400 families, some of whom could trace their heritage in the location back millennia. The Rosia Poyeni copper mine is an open pit mine extracting some 11,000 tons of copper each year. The success of this type of mining operation comes with a great cost to surrounding landscapes. Mining produces waste known as tailings, containing cyanide and other toxic substances that can leach into the environment and pose a risk to plant, animal, and human health. And we'll take a moment to read this little blurb here. Spooky indeed. All right, and we're back. All right, we're going to bring it somewhere a little bit more close to home with Yellowstone Hot Springs. Located in North America, United States. Max depth 160 feet or 49 meters, and the surface area varies. This cool little illustration. Out. Beneath the natural magnificence of Yellowstone National Park lies a wet and lethal booby trap, hot springs. Yellowstone has 4 million visitors annually that are cradled in the enormous caldera of an active volcano. The violent subterranean volcanic activity means that the bodies of water in the park become pools of boiling acid, which can pose a deadly threat to visitors drawn in by their natural beauty. Yellowstone National Park is situated on top of one of the world's largest volcanic systems, known as the Yellowstone supervolcano. This supervolcano created the Yellowstone caldera, which measures about 45 by 30 miles, or 72 by 48 kilometers, and was formed during 3 massive volcanic eruptions that occurred 2.1 million, 1.3 million, and 640,000 years ago. These eruptions created a large depression in Earth's crust that is now filled with lava, ash, and other volcanic materials. The area around Yellowstone is characterized by a series of faults and fissures that allows magma to rise to the surface and create the park's famous hydrothermal features. Because the Yellowstone volcano erupted in the past, it could again in the future. Its eruptions are some of the largest and most destructive volcanic events in Earth's history, and they have the potential to cause widespread devastation and global climate change. But don't worry, it is highly unlikely that an eruption will occur anytime soon. The surface of Earth's crust is bubbling and boiling in Yellowstone National Park. The hydrothermal features form when ancient rainwater percolates up through Earth's crust and gets superheated along the way. There are over 10,000 hydrothermal features across Yellowstone, including hot springs, geysers, mud pots, and steam vents. The water in these pools is often brightly colored thanks to the presence of thermophilic, heat-loving bacteria and algae that thrive in the hot, mineral-rich water. And you can see this illustration here. There's molten rock down below, and it's kind of reaching up into the surface here. This is the outline of the caldera and the water features therein. The water in these hot springs can reach temperatures of up to 250 degrees Fahrenheit or 121 degrees Celsius, which is hot enough to cause third-degree burns in a matter of seconds. The boiling pools also consist of chemicals such as chloride, sodium, silica, hydrogen sulfide, sulfate, and arsenic that are part of the volcanic activity. Some of the hot springs in Yellowstone are so acidic and hot that they can dissolve human flesh within a matter of hours if someone falls into them. Many who enter the pools are never seen again. See, miss me with that. I don't know what girly pops are hopping into these, but not me, man. There's the hot spring, a geyser, would be steam coming up, and then this would be the superheated water. Down here is where the porous rocks for groundwater and the magma chamber. You can see this nice little cross-sectional. Boiling from below. Jack McMuffin says, hide a body there. Yeah, not for long. I mean, not for long would there be a body to even be hidden. A geothermal feature, like a hot spring, is created when groundwater is superheated by the nearby magma before reaching the surface. A geyser is a hot spring that erupts jets of steam and water. Beneath the surface, the superheated water and steam is collecting in underground pockets. Pressure builds up and eventually ejects a column of steam and water into the air. When the supply of steam and hot water is exhausted, the spouting stops and the cycle begins again. So pressure builds, and then finally a eruption will take place, venting off some of that water as steam, and once the pressure is relieved, it goes back to building again. Because remember, these are sealed airtight chambers here. Since 1870, over 20 people have died in the Yellowstone hot springs. Accidents occur when visitors ignore warning signs and leave designated trails to get a closer look. The mineral crusts that form around the hot spring may appear to be solid, but they can break beneath the weight of a person walking on them. To avoid being cooked alive, heed the warnings and remain on designated paths within Yellowstone National Park. Yeah, at other parks, those paths might just be gentle suggestions. They might just be for the conservation of the park, and the protection of the land. For these ones, they are for your own protection. Do not be leaving the paths. Not at Yellowstone, at least. A deadly dip. If you were to accidentally fall into one of the hot springs in Yellowstone, it would be potentially fatal. The water would be scorching hot. Within minutes, your nervous system would stop registering the pain because it is so intense. Hot steam or water vapor would scald your lungs and airways, damaging your respiratory system. Furthermore, some hot springs release toxic gases that can be poisonous when inhaled in high concentrations. Your organs would fail due to extreme heat stress. Your skin would rapidly break down, and the acidity of the water would begin to dissolve it. Your bones and other body parts, your skeleton would completely disappear within just a few hours. Yikes. Yowza. Another kind of picture of a little postcard stamp. And another grisly illustration. Thanks, Geo. It says he prefers his lungs unburnt. I do not blame you. You'll hear no argument brokered from me on that front. Next up, we have Lake Candy? Kindy? One of those two. In Central Asia, location Kazakhstan, max depth 98 feet or 30 meters, and the surface area is less than a mile squared. There is an underwater forest located in southern Kazakhstan in the midst of the Tian Shan Mountains. Lake Kandy holds the remainder of hundreds of bleached trees emerging from the water. The lake was formed during a deadly earthquake in 1911 that killed hundreds of people and destroyed many buildings in the region. The earthquake caused a huge limestone landslide to crash into a mountain valley, crushing a group of yurts and killing 38 people. At the same time, the falling rock created a natural dam, and over time, the valley filled with water. Just a moment. Edith! Edith, what are you doing? Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay. Sorry about that. Edith decided that it was digging time. Here you can see a little illustration of what Geo is talking about when it comes to that landslide. You can see a huge old chunk of mountain just slooped into the path of this water. A giant landslide brought rocks, soil, and debris down the slope into the mountain valley, blocking the passage of water, eventually leading to the creation of a new lake. Influx of water swallowed the spruce trees that littered the landscape, submerging half of their trunks in chilly water. As time progressed, the exposed upper halves of the trees lost the majority of their branches and needles, leaving behind bleached stumps poking from the surface. However, what lies below is even more eerie and strange. The trees are completely intact, almost perfectly preserved. The incredibly cold, fresh water prevents the wood from decomposing. In most warmer lakes, the trees would rot and disappear over time. Here, it will take decades more before they start to disappear. The water is a bright and unnerving blue-green color because of a fine-grained mineral-rich sediment called glacier flour. It is formed by the grinding of bedrock due to glacial erosion over long periods of time. As the glacier melts, the sediment-laden meltwater enters streams and rivers, carrying glacial flour with it. Another little picture. And here's what she's talking about when she says that they're beached above the water but perfectly intact beneath. I think this is another one I'm going to look up a real picture of, because as much as I love her illustrations, I know that this is a creepy one. See if there's any pictures of an above and below. Aha. So here we have an aerial view, and you can see the top of these trees bleached white, and then just beneath the surface you can see this green kind of skirts as the lower levels of them are still perfectly preserved. Very creepy. And there's that bright blue color as well. Let me see if I can find an underwater photo for this creepiness. Like, not that you could ever get me to scuba dive anyway, because that's just not happening. But this is also why. Like, look at this. So spooky. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but there's just something so spooky about that. rid of these and continue on our fact-finding reading. Let's see. It's one thing to visit the lake to see the drowned trees from above, but it's completely different experience to explore below the water. Divers exploring below the surface of Lake Candy experience an otherworldly landscape. As they make their way through the submerged underwater forest and long dead trees, the lifeless branches sway eerily in the current. The lake bed is not so different from a graveyard frozen in time. Skeletal remains of a forest preserved in the bitter cold. Sunlight filters down from the surface, creating beautiful patterns and shadows on the lake bed, adding to the spectral atmosphere of the place. It's a haunting experience that leaves a lasting impression on anyone brave enough to explore its depths. Yeah, no, miss me with that. Like I said, there's just something really inherently spooky to me about this. Speaking of other breeds, like divers, people that recreationally go like spelunking and stuff. Ugh. Right up there with volcanologists, man. Okay. We're headed back to Central America with this one. And I'm going to do my best to not embarrass myself here. I am pretty sure this is not pronounced with a hard C. I'm pretty sure it's cenotes. So that's how I'm going to pronounce it, but if anybody knows any better, please correct me. So we are looking at the cenotes of Central America, location Mexico, max depth 89 feet or 27 meters, and the surface area is less than a mile squared. Along the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico, there are thousands of sinkholes filled with water. Only a fraction of these giant watery holes has been explored, but archaeologists have already discovered a plethora of artifacts, from ancient jewelry and tools to human bones. The lakes are called cenotes by the locals, a term connected to the Maya word sonoto, meaning a hole filled with water. The Maya civilization dominated Mesoamerica for almost 1,500 years, circa 250 to 1697 CE. And cenotes held spiritual significance as well as providing a source of drinking water. A picture, another one of those cross sections. And here we see an illustration of some artwork, an interpretation of a Maya plaque from 1700 to 1100 CE, Mexico, Yucatan, Chichen Itza sacred cenote. So something that was found in the cenote. The bedrock of the Yucatan Peninsula is limestone, which is soluble and dissolves over time, creating caves that become partially filled with water. Another fun little Florida tie-in, Florida, not that far from Mexico, is featuring a lot of the similar geology. So Florida is covered in this layer of limestone and, left over from an ancient coral reef. And that limestone dissolves in the rain and in the water, like they said, and these massive cracks and craters and holes can form in the surface as it is eroded away over time. That's why Florida sinkholes can be very scary, especially since they are connected to these underground waterways. So things that get lost in a Florida sinkhole are not coming back. They're going to get whisked away into the aquifer and be gone forever. So there's a very similar kind of topology here in Mexico. Yep, the type. Okay, so this type of landscape is known as karst topography. When the roof of a cave collapses, a cenote is formed. They vary in shape and size, with some small openings leading to large underground lakes. Eventually, as more bits of ground give way, the entire surface of the lake is exposed to the sky, surrounded by the sheer sides of pit. While sinkholes are found elsewhere, the Yucatan Peninsula has a higher concentration of these caverns than anywhere else in the world. Rainwater is channeled from the surface through webs of cracks into extensive underground river systems. For millions of years, these intricate landscapes have been sculpted out of Earth's crust. Oh my god, just the other day I was scrolling on my phone and I saw a video of a sinkhole opening up. And I was freaking out, first of all, because I was like, you are standing, you as in me talking to the person taking the video, right? You are standing way too close to that thing for comfort, my guy. Like, I would not recommend standing that close to the actively still forming sinkhole. And then, much to my terror, but also like justification, it started to widen and suck up even more of the surrounding road and city. I was just like, nope. Don't even catch me with that. I would be so far gone. The minute that thing started opening up, I would be like 3 streets away. And counting, man. I would be just keep going. Not today am I getting stuck in a sinkhole. Yikes. Let me see if I can find that video, because again, like, the audacity of these people to stand around the edge of it and just videotape it has me, like, speechless. Oh, maybe it's further back than I remember, but you guys can just picture it in your heads, right? Like, this road is just vanishing in front of folks, and instead of everyone running for their lives, they're just like, oh, let me stand around and videotape this for posterity. And, like, don't get me wrong, I'm a little grateful because at least then I got to see a cool video, but, like, it's not worth your life, fam. Run! Soggy bones. Some of the oldest North American skeletons were discovered in a wet tomb at the bottom of a Yucatan cenote. The oldest skeleton was estimated to be almost 13,000 years old. That's crazy. Okay, so here is a illustration of an ancient Mayan, structure and its proximity. It is the Temple of Kukulkan and the sacred cenote at the ancient Maya city of Chichen Itza. Not to scale. Artistically rendered, not to scale. Ooh, and we're gonna throw in a little fun about the dinosaurs down here. Dinosaurs' demise. An enormous asteroid collided with Earth in the Gulf of Mexico 66 million years ago, causing a global extinction event that included the dinosaurs. The impact resulted in the formation of underground caves. While it took millions of years for the bedrock to dissolve and cenotes to form, the concentration of these sinkholes along the lines of the crater created by the asteroid's impact connect the topography today to the extinction of the dinosaurs. And I know it's hard to see here in the corner, but Gio's lovely illustration of an oncoming meteor impact, the ring of the cenotes, and the Yucatan Peninsula here. This map shows Yucatan Peninsula with the ring of cenotes that line up with the ancient crater left behind by the Chicxulub meteorite that killed the dinosaurs. Not our ancestors, though. We scurried. Cenotes held great significance to the ancient Maya people, serving as both their primary water source and a revered entrance to the underworld called Xibalba. Ancient Maya temples and villages were constructed near cenotes, or in some cases, even on top of them. The flooded holes in the ground were seen as portals between the earthly realm and the watery underworld. Archaeological evidence discovered by scuba divers exploring the bottoms of these sinkholes suggests that cenotes were sacred places where ceremonies were conducted and sacrifices were made to appease the gods. Certain sites, such as the sacred cenote of Chichen Itza, contain evidence of ceremonial human sacrifice. It earned the nickname Well of Sacrifice because of the Maya gold, jade, stone tools, and treasures cast into the water alongside human remains as tribute to the rain god, Chak. The bones unearthed from the bottom of the deep sinkhole hundreds of years later belong to warriors, young women, and even children. Here's an illustration of this cave diver. Not me. Archaeologists are not the only ones who have ventured into the dark recesses of the karst cave system on the Yucatan Peninsula. Cave diving is popular despite being incredibly dangerous. Like ice diving and wreck diving, it's a form of penetration diving that requires technical training. Divers must maneuver through tight, pitch black, underground passages with air tanks strapped to their backs. Yeah, no. These caves are filled with limestone features such as stalactites hanging from the ceiling and stalagmites rising from the floor, both formed by mineral deposits from dripping water in caves. Unlike most cave diving, the cenotes are submerged cave systems of the Yucatan Peninsula come with an additional company, the decomposing Maya sacrifices from centuries past. Oh yeah, great. Thanks, Geo. Exactly what I was hoping you'd say. And this little caption reads, beneath the surface of the cenote sinkhole, the karst features like stalactites and stalagmites would have formed before the caves were flooded. And then raptures of the deep. This is one of the spookiest things about diving in general, but especially cave diving, that I can even imagine, let alone know about. Raptures of the deep. When divers descend too deep and too fast, they can become disoriented and confused because of nitrogen narcosis, a condition also known as raptures of the deep. Nitrogen narcosis occurs when divers are at a greater depth, which means increased pressure from the weight of the water overhead. This causes the body to absorb more nitrogen gas than it would at surface level. As a result, the excess nitrogen can act as an anesthetic. Sorry, not an aesthetic. It's not a vibe. Causing a variety of symptoms that can impair a diver's ability to think clearly and make sound judgments. This can get even worse if a diver starts to panic and inhale rapidly. Additionally, visibility can be reduced if the diver kicks up silt with their fins. In cloudy water, it is almost impossible to find the way back to the surface. So, I've heard this described as feeling like you're drunk. Not something Eoneth is familiar with, but anybody else who's had like a 21st birthday party that went a little too overboard, can kind of imagine being, somewhat dizzy, maybe a little silly. Your thoughts are coming in sluggishly. Um, and then being in that state is bad enough on the surface, let alone being in an underwater cave scuba diving, right? So you've got to contend with your air and navigating in these tight spaces a lot of the time. And like Geo says, they can panic, they can kick up silt, reducing visibility. The nightmare scenario, in other words. All right. I think on that note, on that um incredibly grim spooky fact, I think that's a good place to call it. I'll put our library card back in to hold our place for next time. And don't worry, I know it was a long time since my last Spooky Lakes stream. I will not let it go that long. I'm planning on doing a lot more Spooky Lakes and reading some spooky short stories, maybe, all throughout spooky season. So look forward to that. In the meantime, let's take a look at who is live. Oh no, I thought Birthday Bunny was on. Oh, let's do Big Bad Dirty Dog since he was here earlier. So I would appreciate it if you could stick around for the raid, but if not, I totally understand. We are gonna raid a friend of the channel, Big Bad Dirty Dog. Is always a fun, chill stream. All right. So again, I'd appreciate if you could hang out, but otherwise, I totally get it. And just make sure that once you get there, you let them know who sent you. And I will catch you next time. Have a good one, everybody.